Hathor's the goddess of women, motherhood, dance, beauty, and music. She is the representation of joy, celebration, and love. She is also associated with the sky, Venus, the movement of the planets, birth and rebirth after death. She is an older deity, so the stories surrounding her tend to be a little inconsistent. There are two main stories that explain her origins. One story says that Ra unleashes Sekhmet to cause destruction and punish the humans for their sins. Sekhmet gets pretty close to destroying all of humanity until Nephthys comes in and makes her drink a red beer that she thinks is human blood and thus makes her pass out. She then wakes up as a completely different person than she was before. This story makes her the goddess of joy but also drunkenness. In the other story, however, she's combined with Isis. While Horus fights his uncle for power to control the cosmos, he becomes so mad at his mother for not doing enough to help him that he beheads her in her sleep. When she wakes up, she realizes that she was decapitated. She was in such shock that she grabbed the closest head she could find and put it on her body. This head happened to be a cow. This wasn't a later time period when Isis and Hathor were worshipped as one, but thanks to these different stories, Hathor can be seen many different ways in Egyptian art. She's often pictured as a woman with the head of a cow and sometimes even shown as a full cow. Sometimes she is pictured as a woman with just ears or horns of a cow and the red sun disk of Horus between the horns. Her symbol is the sistrum, which is a rattle-like instrument she can be seen using to drive evil away from the world. Egyptian mythology was obsessed with rebirth, regeneration, and cycles of existence, so you can see why she was so popular. Egyptians believed that respecting the pharaoh and the gods gave them peace and happiness, so they did just that. But what did this mean for Hathor? This means that she helped with the rising and the setting of the sun, and she was never only a deity for women. Men worshipped her too. Her cult was maintained from Egypt's earliest days to its very last and became one of the most complex. But people wanted peace and happiness, right? Of course they did. So people danced, listened to music, but they also drank. Every act of love was considered worshiping her too. And if you wanted to speak to her, you had to be physically and spiritually cleansed. By doing this, she kept everything on earth alive for them. She also welcomed spirits to the afterlife and offered them food and drinks. The Metropolitan Museum in New York City is the home of Hathor's clappers. They were the first musical instrument on vases. They have a slightly curved shape because they're made of hippopotamus ivory. At the end of each one, Hathor is there with a hand. One of them did lose the hand, however. Her parents were said to be Ra, but sometimes it was a little different than that. Sometimes that she was her daughter, or sometimes she was the Eye of Ra. Other times it was said that she gave birth to Ra each morning as the sun rose. Some say her spouse was Sobek, Thoth, Horus, and Ra. People also say her siblings were Shu and Tefnut, while others say her siblings were Shu, Bast, and Serdet. Some say her children are Horus, Ai, and Harkness. Her friends would include beer makers, vintners, dancers, women, and cows. And her enemies would include anyone who disrespected women, stayed sober, or ate beef.